everyone, and welcome back to another Kacademy video. In this video, we'll be learning on how to write an excellent comparison for a CQE. This is important because in your GCSE English exam, the second question, which is worth 8 marks, is all about this. So you have to make sure that you're up to date on how to write a good comparison. Well, first up, what is a CQE? Well, a CQE, comparison point explained, is a structured method for analysing and writing about text in English GCSE. It helps students develop a deeper understanding of the text, and it supports their ideas with evidence and crafts clear and logical arguments in their essays and responses. It also provides a framework for moving from basic observation to sophisticated literary analysis. But what is a comparison? Let's look at it in more detail. A comparison is the foundation of your analysis. It's the specific, deliberate act of identifying a meaningful relationship, contrast, or similarities between two or more elements within a text. But what is the purpose of a comparison? Well, focus and direction. Well, here are a couple of reasons. Focus and direction. It narrows your analysis. Instead of trying to cover everything, you focus on one specific point or contrast. Next is the initiation of thought. It forces you to start thinking about how the selected elements relate and what their significance might be. It could also help you create a framework. It provides a structure for your argument by setting up the relationship that you explore in your poem and explain. Next is establishing relevance. The comparison should be clearly linked to a larger thematic idea or the question. And finally is making an argument. Your choice of comparison implies an argument. The comparison indicates which aspects of the text you think are the most significant and revealing. But what are types of comparisons that you could do in your GCSE English exam? First is a character-based comparison. There are internal v external changes. Compare a character's inner thoughts and feelings to the outward behaviour and explore internal conflicts within the character. Next is relationships. Compare the dynamics of two characters and how the interaction reveals themes throughout the text: love, rivalry, or power, or hate. Character arcs. Compare a character's actions and beliefs at the beginning, middle, and the end of the text. Next are textual element comparisons. Setting up as a character reflection. Compare the description of setting to highlight the changes in the character's emotional state or the central theme of the text. Recurring symbols. Compare the different uses of the same symbol to track its evolving meaning. Next is structural parallels. Compare similar scenes, events, or even the use of foreshadowing or flashbacks to show how the author is developing the story and the reader's understanding of the text. And finally is the literary device comparisons. Juxtaposition. Compare and contrast of the two literary devices side by side to highlight a particular idea in the text. Next is rhetorical devices. Compare the use of rhetorical devices to emphasize a particular argument or point. And finally is language comparisons. Comparing the overall language in different passages or paragraphs, and you have to look for patterns, shifts, and contrasts that are significant and mention them in your comparison to get the top marks possible. And finally, but how do you make a strong comparison? Well, there are a couple of points to make sure. One is be specific. Don't just say the characters are different. Say, for example, in Act 1, Romeo's language is filled with idealized love, while Juliet's language is more practical. Next is establish context. Provide enough information to place the comparison in context. What part of the text are you referring to? Why is this significant? And choose with a purpose. Choose comparisons that are fertile, that have the potential to lead to the most interesting interpretations that will wow even the most strictest examiners. Consider the audience. The comparison should be understandable to someone familiar with the text. Next is be arguable. Your choice of comparison should lead to a point that is not self-evident and which requires analysis to understand. Now, just to wrap things up, what are some examples of good comparison sentences? Well, a good comparison from the famous play Hamlet is, throughout the play, Shakespeare frequently contrasts Hamlet's philosophical musings with his actions, most notably in his soliloquies. Why is this good? Well, it pinpoints a specific element, soliloquies, as indicator of thoughts. It directs the argument towards character analysis. Next is one from the famous novel Pride and Prejudice. In chapter 1, the narrator sets up an immediate comparison between the two characters of Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet and shows their different behaviours and attitudes. Why is this good? Well, this focuses on two characters and highlights a big comparison between both of their attitudes. It also directs the argument towards character analysis and the thematic considerations about marriage, social class, and gender roles. Finally is the comparison of theme. In Frankenstein and Blade Runner, both of which are sci-fi text, the idea of creating life is at the core of the plot. In Frankenstein, the creation is from the human body, and in Blade Runner, it is from machinery. Why is this good? Well, it points out a similar concept which is present in both stories. It's a comparison that sets up how different methods are used. And that's it for today. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more daily uploads and more cool exam tips. Thanks for listening. Bye.